Working in a group has a lot of benefits, but it can also bring extra challenges that you wouldn't necessarily need to worry about when working by yourself. 3 key things you might need to think about are developing a coherent piece of work, practical management, and navigating interpersonal conflict. In this video, we're going to focus on ensuring your group project comes together into a coherent piece of work. So, although it's true that working with others allows you to benefit from a range of different ideas, approaches, and experiences, this range of perspectives can also be difficult to manage. After all, the aim of working as a group at university is often to provide a single, coherent piece of work that communicates a clear set of priorities. But this can be hard to do when working as a group because everyone thinks and researches and writes in slightly different ways. And if different sections are produced by different authors, then the final product can sometimes feel fragmented because there's no single consistent tone or aim between the sections. And with any type of academic research, including group work, it does take time to develop, refine, and communicate your key messages. So, as a result, you might find your initial ideas evolving as the work develops. And this means that when working and writing as a group, you might want to take some extra steps to make sure that both the key messages and style of the final piece remain consistent throughout. So, here are some things you can try. Keeping priorities visible. It can be helpful to start with an initial meeting to agree upon some core principles or foundations for the work you want to produce. These foundations might include a range of things from your main aim to what outcomes you might be expecting. And once you've established a few core foundations, try to keep them at the forefront of your mind when you're doing the work. You can do this quite simply by formatting them as headers at the top of your Word document and keeping the navigation pane open so that they're always visible when you're writing. Or you could just note them down on some sticky notes and put them somewhere prominent, like at the top of your computer screen. Establishing these foundations early and keeping them clearly visible throughout the process will make it easier to spot if you're going off on a tangent, so that you can either correct your work or raise this new direction as a possible point of discussion with the rest of the group. And alongside these more central foundations, it can be useful to agree upon basic principles of style, like referencing and roughly how long you think each section should be. These aren't necessarily as important as the foundations, but having a house style agreed upon in advance can help make the editing process a little bit quicker. Checking in. You might find it useful to have quick check-ins with the rest of the group throughout the writing process. This can help you see if everyone's still on the same page and discuss potential changes in direction as they arise. Remember, it's possible that your aims or ideas will change as the work develops. So if lots of group members start to note similar changes in their priorities, it might actually be a good idea to return to and revise some of your initial foundations or presumptions. Now, these check-ins don't have to be long or formal group meetings that are scheduled well in advance. They can be something as simple as a quick 5-minute catch-up or group email. Editing for content. When editing, it's quite common to find yourself mainly focusing on the style by doing things like checking that you standardize the references, formatting, and spellings. And yes, this can make the work look more coherent, at least on the surface. But you'll also want to go deeper and start editing for content by checking that your argument, main point, or ideas remain consistent throughout the work. One way of doing this might be to look through each section, paragraph, or chunk of paragraphs and summarize what the main points are of each. And once you've done that, you can compare these different points and ask yourself questions like, are they similar? Or do they suggest a logical progression? Or do they have a clear connection? If the answer is yes, then chances are that your argument is consistent throughout. But if not, you may want to reframe some of the sections or clarify or even reevaluate the connections between them so that the logical flow is clear for the reader. Editing for content will ensure that your work is coherent at a much deeper level than just editing for style, but it does also take longer, so it's always a good idea to leave plenty of time for editing.